Just going back to Flickr, one of the good options that Flickr offers is to view images in a whole bunch of different sizes. So obviously they pick the width that they want here for their standard preview. And if you click on the All Sizes button, we get the original size which you can download, and then we've got a bunch of options for different sizes that we can download. So just to extend on the image gallery example that we looked at previously, let's look at creating a bunch of different varieties so that we can then create the same functionality within Matrix. First thing we need to do is create a separate asset listing, and we're going to use this separate asset listing to give users the options of choosing the different image varieties. Now, like we did with the thumbnails, I've just created some image varieties here. So these are just image varieties called medium for each image, and I've just given it a width of 500 pixels there. So now that that's done, let's just create our second asset listing. And we'll call this one image sizes. Yep. Okay, for this one, we're going to pick asset type select to be image as well as image variety. Root nodes, we'll just pick the image gallery folder again. I'm going to set the minimum height, depth / height to 0, and setting it to 0 as it specifies here actually includes the root node in the results. Now why we want to do that is because the next thing we're going to set up here is some dynamic parameters. So when we click on each image, we're actually going to pass the ID of the image that we've just clicked on to this asset listing, and what that allows us to do is to actually then list all the image varieties for that particular asset. It'll become a bit more clear as we go along. But the reason we chose 0 up here is because we're going to be actually passing the asset ID of the asset we want to list. So if we set the root node to that, then you don't actually get any child assets. So by setting that to 0, that's what we want for this scenario. So set that to asset ID. That could be anything. That's just the name that we're going to pass the asset listing there. Okay, now on the display format screen, we're going to create a new image type format, and that allows you to customize how an image actually looks as per an asset listing. So if we then edit that format that we've just created, and we'll paste in the code that we need. Okay, so there's a fair bit of code there. The first thing we're doing is just giving it a nice title. So keep in mind this is the asset listing that's going to present users with the different sizes of images they can have a look at. So the first thing, as we said, is just the title there. And then we've got the thumbnail size there, the medium size there, and the original size there. And for each one, we're first of all linking to the actual image variety URL, just with that keyword there. And then we're just in brackets, just as Flickr does, listing the width of it, the particular variety, and the height of each variety. So doing the same for medium variety there. We've got the width and the height. And then the last thing we do is for the original size image as well. Because that's not an image variety itself, instead of the image variety keyword, we're using the asset URL keyword. And then we're just using the asset attribute for the width and the height. So we'll save that. Now the last thing we need to do is to modify the original asset listing. So if you recall, we have a preview of that one. At the moment, clicking on each of these images takes you to the full size image. So what we want to do instead, when a user clicks on these, we want to present them with maybe a large size image, but also a couple of options on what size image to download. So to do that, what we need to edit is the default format. Go into the code view and just grab the code that we need. So just replace that entirely. And one thing we need to change here is the reference to this asset ID. So what we're doing is we're still listing each image and we're printing out the image variety thumbnail, But what we want to do is then, when a user clicks on each of the image, we want to link to this new asset listing that we've created. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we just need to use the asset ID of the asset listing, which is 150 in this case. So now, if we preview the image gallery list again, and I'll pop it over in a new tab. Okay, looks exactly the same as before. However, if we click on one of the images, so what we're now seeing is instead of the thumbnail, we're actually printing out the medium size image, and just like Flickr does, we've got the different sizes to choose from, and also the dimensions in there, which is quite nice. So clicking on each one of those should obviously work. And there you go.